Thank you, Ambassador Hiroki. Next up, I'd like to welcome Jake Price and Shimpei Takeda. There's a funny story about how I found out these two men. I was one day Googling, creative responses to Tohoku, and I came upon their documentary video on Vimeo, which is like YouTube. And I was really fascinated by their documentary. And I think we're going to see parts of that documentary today. Jake Price is a filmmaker and photographer. He created this website, this online anthology called UnknownSpring. It's really a fascinating website, and I highly encourage everybody to check that out. All the links to all of our speakers, all their projects are on our website, the New York Japan 2011 website, so please check that out. Jake Price, again, as I mentioned before, he created this online anthology, which is really amazing. It captures really unique aspects through photography, filmmaking, different things, and I think you should check that out. Shimpei Takeda is a Fukushima native, but he's a Brooklyn-based artist. The project he's been working on is called Trace, and it's really, really unique. It's basically a project in which he uses cameraless processes to capture the state of Japan. And that sounds very interesting, I think. So please help me welcome Shimpei and Jake.
Hello. I'm really glad to be here. I flew to Japan 2 days after the tsunami struck. I wasn't going to go at first. I had spent a lot of time in Haiti the previous year, documenting their earthquake. And when I saw the destruction hit Japan, I thought, well, what can I really do? It's an industrialized nation. It doesn't need me. And something was just pulling and tugging at me and tugging at me. And in the end, I got on the plane and I had to go out of my own heart. And I realize now, after 2 years, that the reason why I went is so I can be here with all of you guys and hope to make the situation really better. So that's my creative response to it. I think that that creativity, it sparks ideas and inspiration. And I think that that's what's lacking in Japan right now. It has the ability, it has the education, it has the wealth, it has the history to create. But it's not thinking right now. It's lagging behind, and I think that the response should be much further ahead than it is. So I think that by bringing ideas here, we then will then inspire there, and we make something better. So that is the opening here. I am currently working on a documentary. It's called CPM 703, and it's showing what people are going through in Fukushima right now. It's really, I think, a story of our times, and I don't want people to think of Fukushima merely as a place in Japan. Fukushima is all of our backyards. We all have nuclear power plants near us, and they sustain what is lighting our world right now and putting these images up there. But it makes me think about where we are in humanity, where we need to go. I think that having seen the destruction in Fukushima, we need to really think about better responses and move forward in humanity. So, Shimpei, I don't know if you want to come up and talk a little bit, or should we show the video? Anyway, Shimpei is one of the characters in my film. I've been documenting his process, and so we're basically doing a co-presentation here. Shimpei is going to talk a little bit about his project Trace, and then I'm going to show you a portion of the film. And then I'll talk a little bit more about my own experience in some of the towns up north that I've been working in. So, Shimpei.
Okay, my name is Shimpei Takeda. I'm presenting my work, Trace. And could you actually dig down a little bit? Most of my image is very dark. So the Fukushima nuclear disaster itself is very abstract in terms of photographic documentation. We only know the power plant itself really damaged like this, and other than this, what we get announcement is something like this, no immediate health effect. But obviously, in the real life, politicians know how to protect themselves, and U.S. Army, U.S. military knows what they're doing, but in the real life, this is children in Fukushima City. So scientists really make an effort to visualize this nuclear disasters, contamination in the air, and the ocean, and the soil. But still, these numbers on Geiger counter as a radiation measurement, the concept is very abstract, and somehow I wanted to visualize these numbers and nuclear disaster itself. And I realized X-ray photograph, it's image created by radiation on the surface of photographic material, which is silver halide, get darkened by electromagnetic radiation, which this diagram shows the visible light and visible light here, and X-ray, gamma ray. These are same energy called electric magnetic radiation, but just different wavelengths and frequency. So without using camera or lens, the photographic material still can be exposed by these radioactive particles containing in the soil, contaminated soil. So using this method, I decided to create the image of the direct and physical documentation of the nuclear disaster. So before going to Fukushima and surrounding prefecture, I did a couple pre-experimentation using some radioactive material I could buy. The first test I did was this using radioactive isotope here, which contains cesium-137. So as you see this image, this disk contains cesium and emits the radiation very powerful. After I got a better Geiger counter, actually this number goes up to 200 microsieverts. So I put on the top of photo paper like this and store in the light tight box for a week and process like a regular photographic paper. And you clearly see the strong black exposure sign. And next experimentation I did with Fiesta ware, which using uranium on the surface of the glaze to just get this color. So vintage Fiesta ware from 1930s and until 1943, all the US manufacturers using uranium to get this colorful plate. So I crushed this plate to manipulate the look of the soil, and this get 1.5. The background radiation level in Brooklyn, New York City, is about 0.15 to 0.2 microsievert. So clearly this shows much higher level of radiation. So just like other experimentation, I put on the top of the paper, photographic paper, and store for a month, and this is the result. So using this procedure, I actually went to Japan and collected all types of soil, and this is where the nuclear power plant and South Point in Chiba Prefecture in Kashiwa City, about 120 miles south, and here is 110 miles north in Iwate Prefecture. So 12 locations I went and got the soil sample. And also I chose the location dedicating the location having the strong memory sort of the life and death, such as shrine and temple, war site, and castle and hospital I was born. So all those locations soil, one by one, I pick up with gloves and wearing mask if there's high radiation level. So just like these containers. Also, I chose different type of soil texture to see if they may affect the look of the radiation photograph. And again, this is a diagram of the creating images. Simply place sheet film, black and white film, and put the contaminated soil on the top and close for months. And in the dark room, obviously. And it's like that. So 1 month later, I processed those films just like regular black and white film. And this is the result. So the black is a sign of exposure by radioactive particle inside of the soil. So using those soil, means a negative created by the radioactivity, I made a print and also presenting the soil itself and Polaroid and the information of each location. And also these order is just a chronological order that I picked. So the first one is the first one I picked, and the end is the last one I got the sample. The first one in Kegon Falls, 0.45 microsievert. Next one, former Kashiwa Military Air Base, 0.6 microsievert. Former Kasumigaura Naval Air Base, 1 microsievert. Shiroyasaki Lighthouse, 1.15 microsievert. Nihonmatsu Castle, 4 microsievert. Asaka Kunitsuko Shrine, 3.7 microsievert. Iwase General Hospital, 0.5 microsievert. This is a hospital I was born. Nakano Fudosan, 1 microsievert. Tucson's Buddhist temple, 0.45 microsievert. Lake Hayama, 6.5 microsievert. So after I did tests with created these 12 locations soil sample and create the images. And summer 2012 to fall, Jake Price and I spent over months together in Fukushima City mainly. And so Jake has been making the documentary to capture the people's life in Fukushima. And my project is part of his film, and I'm gonna show a little bit information of my neural size creation that I did. So this is the image in the Fukushima city, east side. That's mainly that I got contaminated soil for the size 4x8 feet photographic paper to expose. So obviously the size is 50 times bigger than 8x10 inches film that I initially made. So I contacted this monk in Fukushima City, Koyu Abe, who has been doing cleanup work in a school zone and elementary school. Because obviously Fukushima City is no great situation to live, but there's no mandatory evacuation order or anything, and it's support from the government. So just like he decided to take care of the mess by himself, and thousands of the volunteer people has been helping his cleanup job. So just like he's just was a residence and school zone, just use Geiger counter, clean up, and that's what he has been doing. And he stored those contaminated soil back at his temple because there's no other places in Fukushima City for these radioactive waste. So my family's friend has this farmer's house. Kindly let me use for my large size production. So I built this case, a light type container to block all the visible light, and put the photographic paper and soil, and so basically make a sandwich and create images, just like my initial production. And just like this, you'll see the video later, but this is on the still. And put it like that 4 months. And 2 months later, do the dark green and process all the images. So just briefly show like 5 images out of the 1 negative. So this time, just like the last time, but this is actual photographic paper. So all the black dot is a sign of radiation exposure. But since the size is quite large, so the black is actually some light leak in between moving photographic paper. So I guess the larger size is more about physical process that I work with this gigantic photographic paper. Now, Jake's currently working film to see the behind the scene of this artwork.
Yeah, Shimpei was kind of the impetus for me to go to Fukushima, and really what fascinated me was the heritage that's been lost. And the film is taking an in-depth look. By exploring the land, we make the connection to people's lives. And I think the main theme of all of the tsunami is that people are connected to the land. They want to stay on the land. One of the characters in my film, Wada-san, who you'll see in a minute, he would rather die in Fukushima of cancer than die of a broken heart somewhere else. And I find that this is a common theme with so many people. thousands of years of history. People don't want to abandon the land, and they care passionately about it. So what I'm wondering with the symposium is, how do we keep a connection to what matters to us most, but do it in a responsible, smart, innovative, modern way? And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and at the same time terrible. So yeah, I think that we find a lot of opportunity, and one of the ways to defeat the tsunami is to really take all the opportunities that we can to honor the dead by making the lives better now. So I'm going to show a little brief portion of the film, and we're going to get a sense of what the population is living in, and also what Shimpei is exposing. In that soil, there's life, there's death, there's struggle, and we're now cut off from that land. And it's so sad. I think that's what's in Shimpei's work and art, and now I'll let you see it. Sorry, just trying to find a video here.
それがだから昔から7000年に一度ぐらいの割にエジプト文明だとかマヤ文明だとかメソポタミア文明だとかが滅んできたそういう太古からの歴史があるって。津波とか地震は本当に地球がちょっと身震いしたみたいなことなのよね。でもう一発原発がもう一つ地震や津波はいくらでも来る可能性いっぱいあるわけだから、もし今修理なんてほとんどできてないんだから、何にもできてないんだから、もし同じようなことが、起こったら地球の半分がダメになるって言われてる。少なくとも日本は消滅ですよ。
that gives you a little idea of what of what people are coping with and why they want to stay. I was amazed when I went to Fukushima how beautiful it was, and I think by showing the beauty in relationship to his work, which I think shows the ugliness in a very fascinating way, we really understand what's lost. I think that in order to appreciate what's lost, you have to see the beauty of it. So that's what I was trying to do with this. And then I think, should I show some slideshows? The Uriage? I think we have broken. Great. I spent a lot of time in Uriage. This was before I met Shimpei. I basically kind of hitchhiked around Tohoku in the days following the tsunami. I didn't have funding or really know anybody. I just had to go and do it. And I ended up in one village in particular that was totally wiped out. And I ended up sleeping in a refugee center that was actually very similar to this. It was a music center. And now that I look at it, it was symbolic of the creative response. We were literally sustained by an art center. And I hope that through that art center, we continue to bring birth. I think, when you think of the nature of creation, what is it? It's bringing birth. So from these artistic responses, there will be concrete ones. I'm really concerned about people's mental health. The tsunami, it destroyed the absolute fabric of communities. And so people don't have a place to really grow their communities again organically. They're living in kasetsus, and there's really no place to open a restaurant or a bar or kind of let your hair down and hang out. So I think looking forward, we have to say, how do we build communities again, but let the communities build themselves? And I think that a part of that is just finding the space for people to do that. And they've been through so much. And so this is really just an emotional response, these next 3 videos. I wanted people's suffering to be known. I didn't want to victimize people. I didn't want them to be seen as victims. But I wanted them to be appreciated. And so that's what these next 3 are about. I think the response was inherently creative in the aftermath. How are we doing at time? Okay, great. So this was maybe one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life. And I'm just going to let the video speak for itself, and I think you'll see what I mean. So in that video, I was just so amazed. You know, people, the process just kept getting bigger and bigger. It was amazing for me to see that photos were being saved, but then the process just went to this amazing, wonderful extreme, where people saw the value of these photos and kind of gave it a life of their own. And by saving these photos, they held on to absolutely everything that was precious to life. And I think a lot about that gymnasium. It's still there, and it still contains some photos. But there's a lot of pictures now being taken, and life is regenerating again. So I'm wondering, it would be amazing to do an exhibit of people's pictures now, after the tsunami, and their daily lives, and what they're really holding on to and loving. And I think that that's what this forum is going to be able to facilitate in the long run. And so I know our time is getting short. I'm basically done with my talk, and I'm going to give it back to Shimpei. Thank you so much. So we have 3 more minutes. I'm going to do one more video then. Show, is that good, or should we move on? Good. This is also a creative response. It was really amazing. In the Uriage town, they have a festival for Oban every year, and it was this absolute desolate, barren field in the back of a school that was nearly destroyed. And people showed up in this swath of destruction to continue on with all of the things that they loved in life. So again, you know, the response was immediate. Life is coming back, and let's just make sure it comes back in the best of ways. Thank you.